Good morning, everyone. Uh, Welcome to another chapter in the JavaScript week. Trust you all had a nice rest. Yesterday or in our previous class, I think it was this day before yesterday, we talked about DOM, and we explained some basic concepts of DOM. So I believe by now most of you should have started or should have been done with your task. If you have any questions, yeah, thank you, Samuel Ogbaje. Jamaka, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining this class. We are 14 here live. It's nice having everyone here. I believe every one of us, we are getting better with our JavaScript. I believe so. Yeah. If it's overwhelming, you just need to keep on trying. And my advice is don't stop learning. If you're not getting something, you just have to keep on learning. Get a coding partner or so. It took me more than a month, but to be able to understand what we mean by function. So, and I believe it might only take you, let me say, a day or an hour. So if that's your case, so you also have hope, like you can even be better than I am, which I believe so. And I believe nobody's better than me, actually. So it's just a matter of experience and how far you have gone. I believe no one is better than me, and I believe you can be better than me. But when it comes to me, I believe you are not better. If there's something you have implemented, it's because I've not laid my hand on it or I don't have experience on it. So that's just it, please. I hope this will serve a little bit as a motivation. You have a whole lot of things to learn in JavaScript, to be honest, which you will keep learning. You will keep learning, keep on learning. But try to understand the basics, because if you say until you understand JavaScript fully, until you are conversant or you are improved with JavaScript before you use React and other things like that, you will never be ready. So with that being said, we can just move straight to our today's class. This some minutes after 10, so that's fine. I hope we can be able to end this class early. Yeah, we talk about JavaScript, DOM rather, and to some extent, some people understand and some people doesn't understand. But I believe if there's anyone that didn't understand the class and I've gone through it after the class, let me emphasize on that. If you didn't understand my previous class, that was on Monday, and you have gone through the topic again, either watching the video again, or either watching another video, or either watching another, reading an article on it, and you didn't understand, can you please comment in the chat box? Let me know, so I'll be able to know how I'm going to go over it again. Please let me know if you attended last class and you didn't understand what was being taught, and you later go back and you went back to read about it, and up till now you still don't get or you don't have an introductory knowledge about DOM. Please signify in the comment section. Please be fair with when you are trying to signify, in the sense that you attended the class and you have tried to read more about it, or you have tried to watch videos, but up till now you still don't get it. Please signify in the comment box so that I'll be able to know how we'll go about the class. Most likely we'll be ending our teaching class this week, most likely, all things being equal. And let me also remind you that if you have not filled the form in the announcement channel, please try and fill it. I hope it's still open, and I hope you all enjoy, or you have learned one or two things during my office hour or during our interaction. I hope you have. Please, I hope so. And I hope so. So with that being said, yeah, Samuel. With that being said, Now we talk about DOM. The DOM is how your HTML interacts, your JavaScript interacts with your HTML. Definitely, if I like now, there's always something doesn't just happen magically, or let's be in the science world, nothing happens magically. You can't just, if you see something here, it might have taken time to evolve, but it's not there magically. So we all know that in science world, also in computer science, things just don't just happen. They happen. They happen by one way or the other. So now, for you to be able to manipulate or to change something inside your HTML, you need to use DOM. Even in React, you always use DOM, but some algorithms are making it better. Instead of using this DOM is slow. If you are writing, imagine if YouTube or if Twitter is being written on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, it will be really, really slow. So that's why we have some of this technology. So with that being said, now how do we find our HTML elements? For example, we said JavaScript is a programming language. So how do you find your HTML elements? So I will quickly do a revision about it. For those that didn't understand, I'll quickly do a revision about it. If you want to find your HTML elements, just like in Java, in CSS, you have selectors. We call them selectors. To be able to locate your HTML elements in CSS, you are going to be using CSS selector. With that being said, I will open my, thank you, Samuel. I will open my VS Code now, and let's talk about it in code. I've tried to also do the task you are giving, and it didn't take me a lot of my time. So I believe you two should be able to do it. Roxy, who is Roxy? Okay. So now I created this file main.html. Okay, I'll create another one. I'll create another one here called, let me just call it index2.html. I hope you can all see my screen, or do I need to zoom out? I believe by now everyone can see my screen. So now by this now I can come here and create this now. Just like we said, we are going to be adding our script file, and our script here, let me add another script. Let me call it our script.js. So now I believe everyone knows how to add this. So I can just come here and write script.js. So this is how I've added my script. For example, now let me have an h1 element here. Let's say hello world. We're having this as hello world, and I'm having my h6 here. Say welcome to week 7. Welcome to week 7. Now I'm going to be adding my CSS file so that we can just I'm going to be adding a, how do I call it, star? Is it link? Yes, link. And let me call it, instead of style.css, I want to call it index.css. So if I come here now and I go to my index2.html here, and I write index.css. So now we have linked this. Now, previously in our CSS, we were told how we are going to select an HTML element. For example, now if I want to select the H1, I will just come here now and write the name of the selector is H1. And anything I want to do, I'll just do it. Let me see, our color here should be red. So this is how we select elements inside using CSS. But there must be different approach if you are using JavaScript. So that's what we talked briefly about. Actually, where I'm going really is DOM. But for the sake of, I don't know if there's anyone that didn't understand last week class, or those that didn't attend. So we can start on this ground so that it will be easier. You can see now I've made changes to my HTML elements using CSS. So now how do we make changes to our HTML using JavaScript is what we are going to be doing today. Like I said, we use selector for CSS, but this one now, how do we use it? There are different ways of getting our elements or our HTML elements in JavaScript, which I will be mentioning here. The first one is you get it by their ID. That means an attribute of ID. You can also get it by their tag name. You know, all this H1, they're also a tag. And you can also find this by their class name. You can get by class name, and we can get by CSS selector, and we can also get by by HTML object collection. We'll talk about the first four, and you can always read about the last one by yourself. Now, as I've earlier said now, so how do we find it? We find it by ID. So the first thing is, let's start with the ID. Suppose I give this H1 an ID. I'm giving it an ID of, let's say, H1. Now, and this one is being saved now. So if I'm to use my, I want to close, sorry, I will want to close everything. So I just want to open the two I'll be needing, my index and my this also. So these are the two files I'll be needing. So I've closed the other one. No, it's not this. Take the script.js. So these are the two files I'll be needing. So let's just close others now. So now we're having script.js and index.js. Now I want to make changes to my HTML file. Like I said, we find the element by what? By using our ID. So like I explained in the last class, the object tree, we have what? We have something called document. That is, our whole page is a document. So like I said, HTML is also a collection. It contains a lot of things, our documents. So this document can contain a lot of things. For example, if I come here now and I open my console here, you can see I'm having a whole lot of, I'm having an HTML document here. We can see it is as much as possible here. Now, if I want to check that we have head, you can get a lot of things. What is in our head? You can see these are our head elements. We are having all these things here. These are our nodes, and these are our children here. There are a whole lot of things, but that's not where we are going. You can see these are the children inside the head. We have a meta, we have this, all this, we have this. You can see we have our title is also there. We also have, so you have our CSS here, but because our JavaScript is not there, so it's not going to be there. I hope that is clear. So now our document here, if you want to find, so everything is inside our document. The only thing you need to use that we have method. Method is like a function. So now for you to be able to get it, we say document.getElement. We use document.getElement by ID. So this is a method now. The method is just like a function. When you call a function inside a function, it becomes a method. Now, document.getElement by ID. Which ID do you want to get? Which ID do you want to get? Our ID you want to get is H1. It can be anything. Anything you put as your ID attribute, you can always get it here. Sorry, a minute. So now we say document.getElement by ID. So this one now is going to find that element. If I save this now, it's our HTML, yes, our element here is giving us our H1. It has an ID attribute of 1. Now, if you look at it now, if I keep going, you can see now the first inside is a text, as you know, is a text. So, and it's having what? Hello world. Now, so now I'll find it here. I'll find it. So I can come here. Let's just let's assign it to a variable. H1 equals this. document.getElement by ID. Now we are coming here now. Now, anything I want to make changes, just like I make changes in my CSS, I can make any changes here. I think I should. I think I should zoom this out like this. Now, we can all see my screen, H1. So now we can make any changes you want to make. What do you want to make? Think of about anything. If you want to add, let me say you want to change the text content. I explained the difference between text content, inner text, and inner HTML. So if I come here and say I want to change the text inside, I say inner text or inner HTML, anyone you use, it will change. Your inner HTML should be hello sir. You can see now, because JavaScript will always override everything inside our HTML. So you can see now it has changed to what? Hello sir. So these are ways of finding elements. So we found this H1 by using what? By using by ID. So the first one is by ID. I can move this one here. Now the other option here we have is by what? By the tag name. By tag name. By tag name. This one will return a list of, if you can see what I've written here, it's not a single one. It will return a list of them by elements by tag name. So it's not going to return one. I was the time I made a mistake. So when you use, now let me say I want to get our H6. I think that we have our H6 there. Now use documents.getElement by tag name. You can see now we have by tag name here. There are elements, not one. You can see it's a plural. It's not a single one. Let me say H6. But we have one, definitely to come, but it will come in form of an array. Now, if I now say console log, let me console log what we have there. Let me see what our H6 is. You can see we are having what? We are having an what? HTML connection. That means it's not single one, there are many. It's not single one, there are many. So I can have, suppose I have, I come here now, I write another H6 here. And I write something like my class ref is Isiaka. So now you can see we are having what? We are having two H6 here. You can see now the HTML collection has increased from what? From 1 to 2. From 1 to 2. In JavaScript, you can only access elements by their index, and index starts from 0. Index starts from 0. So now for us to be able to access, maybe you want to access the first one here, I have to come here and say, suppose I want to access the first one, I can now say H6 at 0 because it's an array. H6 at 0. Now, what do I want to change? Maybe I want to change the text content. The text content should be welcome to week 6. Let me say week 7. This is not week 6. This is not week 6. And let me say, you can see now the first one has changed to what? The first one has changed to what? This is not week 6. So these are a way of accessing elements in what? In JavaScript. The other one is by their class name. Suppose we give the second HTML here, we give it a class of, let's say, H6. We are giving a class of H6. Suppose we have given this a class name of this H6 and we save. So we can come here and also use another method called, let me see now, the next one is by class name. So now if you come here and say, let's say, because we can't call it H6 again because we already have, it's telling me that I should call it H7. Let's call it const class value. Can't use class because it's a reserved keyword. Equals because let's say documents. Now we say document dot get elements by class name. You can see now this one too is also a plural. So it's going to return an HTML collection. It's going to return an array. So now if I say what is it? I want I think we call it H6 here. So now if I come back to my work here now and I say class value, now we can add attributes or we can style it. Now we can style this thing. Now the way we style is by using this dot style. No, okay, because it's an array. I have to go the first one. Yeah, this is the first one here. So and we can now use style. Dot style y. Yes, dot style dot. Let me now use dot. Let's say back dot color. Let's see if it works, and let me see what the issue is. It should be black. This one has to be a string. Okay. Let me just take it to another color apart from black, yellow. You can see now it has now changed to yellow. So the first thing is that we select the element because this one now, this is an array. You can see now it's telling us what is an HTML collection of an element. So we are taking the first one, then we are giving the style. So you can style it, dot style. This is how you are going to change it. Now dot style dot, you can use a background color here also. Background, as I've explained there, background color, and you save. You can see now the background color is now what is gray, is yellow. So this is how you select elements by their class name. I hope this is clear. And we have by CSS selector. We have CSS by CSS selector. So we have by CSS selector. There's something we call document.query selector. There's something we call query selector now. So that's what we are going to be using. Document.query selector. You can see now this there's we have all and we have all and we have query selector. Now what is the selector we want to change? We want to query. Now we usually have selector just like we have in our CSS. In our index.css, we are using, if we want to use a class, we are going to be using .h6. This is how you select, because now this is telling that it's a class because we are using a selector. Remember, we usually use selector in our CSS. We can see now we are using h1. I can come here and say .h1 here. Or you can also select by tag name. So we can come here and say h1 .h6 here. So if I save this now and I assign it to a variable, and let me just call it selector. So now if I say console.log selector here, Control Z. So if I say console, if I console this now, you can see now I'm having this my H6 here. It's having a style. It's having a class of H6 and it's having a background color of yellow. So you can add as many as possible. Last time when someone asked, there's a difference between inner text content, and inner HTML. I hope everyone understood that in the last class. So with that being said, I'm trying to follow so that it will be easier. The slide. Now you can read about this by HTML object collection also. We have been having object collection, like query selector. Apart from that, yeah, we have the tag name, I think the class name, the selector, and other stuff like that. So you can always try you can try this one, and if you have any challenge, you can let me know. I'm going through the comments now to see if you have any comments so far. So I'm going through the comments and see if you have any comments now. Okay, now, okay, thank you. Someone asked that what of query selector odd? Suppose the selector are more than one, suppose we have like 10 classes. Okay, I'm coming here now. I'm going to add here. You know, we're having H6 here, I have the class. So I'm going to add like, I've added like 5 here now. I can give this one. I would like to expand my screen a bit. Instead of H6 here, let's start with H1. So I'm going to select this now. I'm going to select this now. Okay. So I'm selecting the wrong one. I'm selecting this now, and I'm selecting this. So I'm changing Y. So I'm changing this one to H1. This one should be, I'm also changing this to H2. And this one to H3. You can come here and take H3. This, let's say this H4, and this one too is also H4. So we're having all this here now. So if I go back, let me minimize this and go back to where we are coming. So you can see that we're having this. We're all having this now. Now, if I want to use selector all, because all of them have the same class, you see it, all of them have the same class of what? H6. Now I can come here and say, this one will just select the first one. It will just select the first one. You can see it's only select the first one. But if you want to select all of them, you can come here and say console document. It's now returned an HTML collection. Query selector all. So this one is now going to return every one of them. You can see now it's now a node list. We're having 4 because there are 5 and the index. So we're having 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the 5 ones. So query selector all will select all the elements that have that class. And if it's ID, it will also select it. I hope that is clear. Oluwadara Senior Odejobi. Sorry. Yes, you can get the file. You can get the file. So now this is how we select our elements in JavaScript. As against, you can see now there's a different way of selecting our elements in CSS, and there's another way of selecting our elements with with CSS and JavaScript. There are 2 different things entirely. Okay, so we can say selector is the same as get element by class name. No, the difference is that this selector here, we know we have different type of selector. We have ID selector. Suppose this one, they are ID now. This class name only work with class, but selector only query selector works with any other selector attribute, type. You can come here and say, now this one cannot work in you can say come here and say H. Now suppose I want to select all the H1 that have .H6. They have this now, or you can do something like this. So it's an empty one. Okay, yeah. So there's not supposed to be space. Now this H1 here is the only one that have a class of H6. This means that the H1.H6, this is what it means in CSS. This is what it means in CSS. Like it's like this H1 .H6. This is what this one means in CSS. So I hope that is clear. Okay, so we can say query selector all. It's not the same. You can use ID with query selector all, but you cannot use ID with get elements by class name. So that's the difference. You can also read more about it. So with that being said, we can move to another subtopic. Now we have done, I think I've explained this hand in hand. Because of time, I will be fast in this aspect. We have explained how we can find HTML. Then how do we change the HTML content? How do we change it? Suppose it's my H1 here. Suppose I'm going to clear what I have mostly in my HTML. This is my index2.html. I'll be clearing this now. I will be removing all this now. It will remain hello world. So this is only what we have here. Suppose it's now I only have this H1 and there's nothing inside. How do I write? Okay, Now, how do I write something inside this H1? How do I write it? There are different ways. There's something we call, if you want to write something directly inside an HTML, you can use document.write. For example, if I come here now and I say documents.write, hello, and this now, oh, okay, this is just the project. Hello, x0 is undefined. Okay, we have already cleared most of these things, so that's why we're having this. I can comment this, accept this one, I can comment others out and save. Now you can see now, I'm using document.write, so I'm writing directly. This is a method that is available on your documents, your global view. You can write something directly inside this. Suppose now that you want to write something like this, but hello, this is me. So this is a way of writing it, but there are also a way of selecting. Maybe you have a text content, you have an H1, but you want to write something inside. There are different ways of writing it. I said earlier in our previous class, we have inner text, we have inner HTML, and there's a project I want us to do. A dumb project. I will maybe our next class, inner HTML, inner text, and we also have text content. I explain how the difference between the text content and inner HTML and inner text. Can someone just help me to type the difference between the inner text, inner HTML, and text content? I'll be expecting the fastest finger. Maybe there will be a gift for me. So who can briefly tell me, the fastest person, I need it. Tell me the difference between inner text, inner HTML, and text content. What are the difference? The first one that gets it will have a prize for me. The first one that gets it will have a prize for me. Actually, so I'll be checking the chat box. The first person that gets it correctly will have it. Please, the week 7 task, can we be brief on it? What do you need to be brief on? This is JavaScript. Because you will be solving problems that you don't know about. So we don't need to start explaining every nook and every details about the task. But after that, go spend. I'm with you. What exactly do you want us to talk about? So that I'm able to, you can now, but say that I should, but if it's for me to start doing the same thing, no, I will not do it. But if there's anything you are not clear about, yes, that's what Office Hour is all about. We shouldn't give a task and force solve it. So I'm expecting the first person to give me the difference between inner text, inner HTML, and text content. So now let's go on. So I would like to, now with that, I will able to know those who attended my previous class and those who even understand or understood what I thought then. So what is the difference? So with that being said, we can move into this now. So if you want to change the content of our HTML elements, we can use these three. Most especially, people usually use inner text, but it has a disadvantage. It has a disadvantage because if you are using inner text, someone can be inner HTML is like writing the normal HTML. Someone can really access it and be able to write malicious code to your work. So with that being said, now let's change the content. We already have H1 here. I'm saving this, so we should not have anything on our screen again. Okay, I'm first seeing Chiamaka's comments. She said inner text return all text contained by element and all discharge element. One inner HTML return all text, including HTML tags that is contained by an element. Okay, Chiamaka, yeah, that's fine as usual. But you do not. What about text contents? The inner text property returns just the text content of elements and all its children. The the challenge I have is this: we are using the inner text return that text content. That text content you are saying is also a property that I told you to define. So can you define it again? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of comments here. Inner content return, there's nothing like inner content. Inner, maybe you mean inner HTML, return all content independent of the style. Okay, sorry. That Solomon Uche Nweke, you are talking about test content. Test content return all content, yes, independent of the style. That's very, very correct, 100% correct. But you didn't write it very well. Inner text return only the visible one, 100% correct. Inner HTML had HTML tag. Also, this is very, very perfect. Very, very perfect. Solomon Uche Nwekes, you have a very, very perfect definition of it. Our inner text will anything, if you have a style in your HTML that you should not see some things, inner text will not show it. But text content will show it. Kilocan, that means it's not bothered. It's not bothered. Okay, please. I had a little bit network issue. So Isaac, I'm trying to lay emphasis on if it is easier, why don't you also Google and tell me the answer? It is easier to Google. Google it and tell me the answer. Yeah. So the person that give me the best definition is Solomon Uche Nweke. Exact definition that I'm expecting. Text content will return everything independent of the style. The way you have written it. For example, now, if I want to write something like this now, and this is my screen now, the problem I'm having is that my formatter, this thing will format my code. So now, assuming I've written something like this, hello plus I. If this thing is not formatted, it's being formatted, that's just the problem. And how do I don't want to stop my formatting stuff like that. I don't want to start stressing myself in formatting it. But if this is the way I type this now, test content will show it exactly like this. Okay, let me just say, how can I'm looking for a best way, but this is the way I've written it now. Okay, let me go to my Control Shift P. Or let me go to my prettier here and let me stop it for once. So I will disable it now. Now I've disabled my prettier now. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it is not formatting. Now this thing is not being formatted. Awesome. So now this thing is not being formatted now. If I now do h1 dot, if I get the text content of this thing, if I console log it, it's the same way it's going to show. So now if I come here and this is my h1, if I now say console.log h1, console.log h1.text content, .text content. I hope my server is still running because I restarted my CSS. So now if I move this one down here, okay, I've moved this one down. This is my console. Nothing is happening. So I need to restart the server. If I refresh this, is it working? So I think I need to restart the server. Yeah, it's not working. So I need to restart my server. So if I come here now and say open with live server here, I can delete all this. Now we're having this now. Now let me check my inspect now, and let me check my console. You can see now. You can see the same way I've written it is the same way it's displaying. Hello plus plus plus. So the same way I've written it is how test content is going to be. Alpha. You can see the same way I've written it is the same way it's showing. So if I come here and say console.log, instead of test content, let's say my inner text here, and let's see the difference. You can see this one. This one is not. This one doesn't have that time. So this one is displaying normally. So that's the difference between inner HTML and inner test content. And if there's a style here, this one will not obey it. If there's a style here, this test content will not obey that style. It will definitely display how you are seeing it inside your HTML. Is how it's going to display. So now, okay, we still have one question. Maybe I have I have 5. I have gift for like 5 people. So now let me just select. We have one winner already. We have Solomon Uche who's the one that gave me the best definition. I will check through. I think Chamaka was the first person. Inner HTML return all text contained by an element and its child elements. Why inner HTML return all text, including HTML tag that is contained by name? Yes, you are right. Because our inner HTML is like you are writing our normal HTML. So if I come here and said our h1 dot inner HTML equals, let me say bold. Now, suppose I want to write I'm also writing an italics here. I'm closing my italics here, and I said, man is tired. Sorry, that, and I'm also writing something like, hello ma. Now, if I save this now, and I look at my away from my console, you can see now it's bringing hello, man is tired. So inner HTML return just like you are writing your normal HTML. So that's what you are. When you are working with DOM and you need to make changes, this is what you are going to be using, because this will allow you to be able to use template literal like this, and you can come here and say something like this. So this will definitely work as expected. So that's what inner HTML works. So that is also correct by Chiamaka. And the last, let me, if I'm selecting 2 winner, so that's what Chiamaka said. So I'm having 2 winner now, and Bolaniwa said, inner HTML return the text content including all spacing and the inner HTML tag, which is fine. Inner HTML return both the human readable content and the HTML tag. Yeah, that's fine. Bolaniwa, the text content returns the text content of the element and all descendants with spacing and CSS ED. And text, well, yeah, Bolaniwa, you are right. Yeah, so okay, I think I've done it. Oh, okay, someone said I should do console.log h1 dot inner HTML. So I can, let me just delete this because so that one will not run. So let's see what we have. Okay, let me delete this. Okay, the test content too also is just like the test content, isn't it? That you cannot write an HTML tag inside it. If I come here and said h1 dot test content should be equals to be our, let's say, let me use template, let me say B here and B here, B. And if I say, sorry, that's not where the tuples are supposed to be. So now I guess this, right? So if I write something like that, say hello, this will not work because we are using text content. You can see it's displaying like normal. So if you wanted to write an HTML element inside your JavaScript, you have to use what? Inner HTML. So if I change this one out to inner HTML now, it will work as expected. So that's the difference. So I have Chiamaka and others we are still going to win something. So we have Chiamaka and Solomon Uche Nweke as my winner for today. Also, Bolanwa Okusanya also got it right. So yeah, I think that's all. But we have 2 winners. So now let's just move on. I think I have something to give like 5 people before the end of this class. So let's see now. Now we are moving to we have seen how we can change how we can style here now. So by using the style attributes. So you can come here and say h1 dot style. So what do you want to change in this style? Anything that you want to change the style, you can change. You can see all the style we're having here. You can change it. You can see if I give it a border, dot border, what do you want our border should be? 2 pixels, solid and red. And if I save it now, you can see now our H1 is having 2 pixels, border which is red. So this is how you change style in JavaScript. So in your work also, you'll be doing something like this. Now let's talk about the tasks you were given. The tasks you were given actually require that you should do a slide. There are different ways you can do it. You can use transform method. You can use display method. Now I'll quickly run through what I have earlier. Okay, yeah. So now the tasks we are given, you can use. You are having 4 images that display on Flex. Now you can give their container to have a certain width. Let me see 200 pixels, and your image have what 200 pixels. So if you give that container overflow of Eden, it's just going to show 1. I'm just explaining this in my way. I'm not going to type this one because you have given the container overflow of Eden. It's not anything that is overflowing. It's not going to show it. So it's going to show 1. So the remaining 4 or 5 images is not going to show it. So how do you not do it? So then that's where we are going to visit transform. You should transform, should translate. So these are just one example of so that's just it. Now, want to talk? I have another question which we can jump on. Now, let's quickly move to where we have another thing. These are my office hour. So we have talked about how we can change the attributes, style. We can also change an attribute. You know how we write an attribute. You can say hl dot let's create attributes also. Sorry, you have to create it. So now you can say html dot you can create attributes. Yeah, you can always create document dot create attribute. You can create an attribute here. You can always create an attribute. But if you say now h1 dot let me say hello, you can't use dot, maybe you have to use this now. Hello, this is an attribute here. Should be I think this should work. It should be 2033. Let's see if I save this now. Okay, I'm not having formatter again. If I check my console log here now and I check my H1 here, it's not there. It's not supposed. Okay, it's not there. So you can always create an attribute actually, and yeah. So with that being said, we move to an event. What do you mean by event? Event is event means something is happening. When something happens, when we mean by what? An event. When you say event can be in real life, event can be a naming ceremony, it can be a wedding ceremony, it can be a burial ceremony, it can be a sakpa ceremony also. Yeah. So it's also an event. So how does an event happens in JavaScript? Events happen when something occur, when you interact with your HTML element. An event occurs when you interact with your HTML elements. An event will definitely occur. For example, now a lot of us typing here now, we are interacting with an HTML element by typing. So there are a lot of things you can see now. A JavaScript can be executed when an event occur. We can do something with we can use JavaScript when something occur. Maybe you click on something or you type something your form. All these things are an event which we can definitely execute JavaScript with it. So now, for example, now we are saying that when a user clicks the mouse is an event. When the mouse is moving, I want to say when the mouse moves over an element, like as I'm hovering over this one, they are also what? They are also an event. When an input field change, it's also an event. When a form is submitted, it's also an event. When the user strikes a key, it's also an event. So the different way of doing it, this is where you can come here now. I can remove this now and move to where we have the work now. Now, this is our HTML element. We can come here now and add it as an attribute here. I beg, make I bring my prettier back. So I'm bringing my prettier back so that everything will be back. So yeah, hope my prettier is back. So if you don't have prettier, please use prettier. It makes your work smooth. Yeah, my prettier is back. So now this is fine. So now what our event is just also like an attribute here. You can see here on click here. You can see these are the different type of events we have. Now let me take our mouse over. When you put your mouse over this our H1 or mouse over, you can see a pointing device is moved mouse me. Let's call it mouse me. You should call this function. We have not defined this for. If I save it here, it's going to bring an error. An error, but okay, maybe when I mouse over it, yes, yeah, you can see that when I put my mouse over it, it's bringing an error because mouse me is not defined. So if I come here now in my script and now define that mouse me, I hope this is correct, is a function. You create a function like this. I'm creating a function. Mouse me should be equals to this. Now, when our mouse is over this thing, it should change our background color. When mouse is over, let's just make something like this. Alert. You should just alert mouse over. You just allow mouse. So when you cannot use this, oh, sorry. I'm creating an arrow function. Sorry, I'm actually used to creating arrow function. So now this is correct now. So now if I take my mouse over this now, mouse me is not defined. Am I not spelling it well? Okay, I think this is correct spelling. If I put my mouse over this now, you can see now it's bringing an alert, mouse over. So these are a better way, because now if I put my mouse against bring mouse over. Now if I come here and say, if I come to my index instead of, I can also, you can hide a lot of like I say on click. When I click on it, when you click on it, you should just you should do alert this. What's this? This is one common problem in JavaScript. When I click on this, I'm mousing over, the two cannot work at the same time because I can't, the windows are alert is an window object, so it has to execute first. So I have to remove this on mouse over. I believe we have gotten that on mouse over. So now if I now click on this now, you can see now it is what? HTML leading elements. Let me just do something. Let me just say, sorry if this is JSON dot is it JSON dot stringify? I'm stringify so you can see our this over our this. I think this is fine. Now if I click on it now, you can see now it's bringing an empty object, but that's not an issue, but it's bringing something. It's bringing something. So we can just come here and say, we have talked about type of, you can just also use type of here. Type of, what's type of this? This will also work now. If I come here now and I click on it, it's the type of, this is what? Is an object. So I hope that is clear. So this is how we are going to add it. But now we are doing this in our JavaScript. We are doing this in our HTML rather. So how do we do it in our JavaScript? That's what we mean by what? We have event listener. We have what we call event listener that listens to an event. I would like to open my code, my document. Now, how we are here now. Yeah, we are here. We are in my weeks. We are in my last slide. We are almost through. So the event listener attached to an. So there's something we call how you listen to an event in JavaScript. How you listen to an event in inside JavaScript by using we have what we call add event listener. That means you can bind an event listener to something. That is where my question is going to come. Though this one will require you either you are a fastest finger or you have had an experience before. Now we have an event listener. How do we add an event? Just like it, we are going to be adding an event listener. Event listener. Now let's take we are going to add the elements. What is the element? Our element that we want to add event listener is H1. Let's come like this, H1. Then you can what? You can add it, you can add an event listener to it by doing H1 dot add event listener. This is how you are going to add event listener. And event listener takes in 3 parameters. It takes in 3 parameters. 2 are compulsory and the other one is optional. The first one is what event you want. Is it a click event? Is it a mouse over event? Is it a mouse enter? Is it a mouse leave? Now we are going to be using mouse leave for this example. We are going to be using mouse leave. Now add event listener. Let's call mouse leave. That means when your mouse leave that place, and when you put your mouse like this and you leave it again, then the second parameter is a function or a method. You can use a function here, or you can write it. It can be a name function. It has to be. It can be an arrow function, or it can be just a normal ordinary function. This is an arrow function, as you know. I'm writing an arrow function here. No, this is not supposed to be here, and this is supposed to be here. I'll be widening my screen so everyone can see it. So I can come over it again. Our H1 here want to do what? You want to bind an event listener to it. So we'll come here and say add event listener. Now, the event listener is a method and it takes in 3 parameters. It takes in the event, the function, what do a callback or a function. You can see append an event listener for an event, which the callback argument set the callback that will be invoked when the event is what is invoked. As you already know, a callback is a function passed in as a function, as an argument. I believe you know that. So now we are going to be adding h1.add event listener. What event listener do we want to add? We want to add mouse leave. When you leave this place, we want it to perform a certain thing.